Hello, everybody. Just joining you live on Facebook. We had to jump over from a different broadcast. Something was wrong at my end on the computer. So I've set this up new and hopefully people are going to find us and join the broadcast. So yeah, it's a week since the launch of Remembering Cheetahs. It's been an amazing week. And just a little reminder before I bring Gordon in to chat with us that our exhibition, our print sales and our auction are still running through to Saturday evening. So you've got 2 more days to have a look around the exhibition, order any of the prints that are in the book if you like any of those, and also have a look at our auction site, which has got various safaris and artworks on there as well as prints. So it'd be great if you have a look at that. But what I want to do is now bring into the conversation and introduce you to someone who's a great friend to the project, Gordon Buchanan. Let me, no further ado, bring him in.
Hello.
Hi.
How are you doing?
I'm really good, thanks. How are you?
Yeah, great, good. Better now that my visa for South Africa's come through. It's a very tense week, but it came through about an hour ago, so I'm very happy about that.
So when are you going?
Saturday afternoon.
Amazing.
So this is a cheetah project that we started back in February, and it was a complete gift of a project to work on, because you've got this amazing animal in an amazing part of the world. The crew were great. The contributors out in South Africa were brilliant, and we started it off, and I thought this is going to be an amazing year. So that was end of February, and we got into March, and then it all changed. So I've been trying to get back out. It's literally just been in this last few days that I found out that I'm going to be able to.
Oh, I'm so jealous.
I'm so relieved.
Yes, I'm sure. So what's it for then?
It's we've been doing the Family and Me series for several years now, and this year we tend to come out over Christmas, and this is still scheduled to come out over Christmas. So it's going to be a 2-parter on the BBC about a cheetah family, and it's a project that I wanted to do for years. We were not quite scraping the bottom of the barrel to look for these sort of charismatic families that we can tell those stories, but we just sort of wanted an animal that people have a real connection with. And we tried with cheetahs maybe about sort of 8 years ago, and at that time it sort of I can't remember why it didn't happen. I don't think we could find the right location at that time. So yeah, it's just it's wonderful. It's such an amazing animal, and to be able to follow them intimately is going to be great. I think with the programme, although I've not been out that often, we've had an amazing cameraman out there that's followed the lives of this family, or 2 families in fact. So yeah, I think when the programme comes out, people won't be shortchanged. There's plenty. Well, people might be very happy because there's lots of cheetahs and not that much of me in it. So.
No, that's great. So, and that's going to broadcast over Christmas period, because people love those shows over Christmas.
Yeah. Well, at the moment, the BBC cupboard is pretty empty, so we're one of the only new productions that will be ready for Christmas time. So, it's really nice. There'll be a lot of back catalogues and Morecambe and Wise's and Only Fools and Horses, and a brand new new project that's going to be shown.
Oh, fantastic. So obviously you wrote very kindly the afterword for Remembering Cheetahs. And as I said to you when you sent it over to me, it's actually incredibly moving. I love the way you've written it. It's really sort of poignant but upbeat as well. And you talk about a particular cheetah in that story that you've kind of followed and got to kind of know. Is it the same cheetah that you're filming with, or is that a different cheetah?
Yeah, it's the same cheetah that I'm going back out until hopefully this time next week I'll be with. Because with the forward, because the Remembering Wildlife series of books have been incredible, and I've been in awe of them since the very beginning. When you asked me to do the forward, I was very honoured, but I thought, oh God, it needs to be amazing. It has to be kind of not a letdown at all. And then I'd actually just spent a day with the cheetahs, and I thought I'll just talk about this experience of looking for this family and what that's like. And so they, it made it very easy because they're such an easy animal to engage with, and it's telling their story. That's sort of, and hopefully that's what we'll do in the program, tell their story. So yeah, it was a really nice thing to write, actually, when I sort of wrote the words, and it just flowed because all I was doing was conveying an experience with these cats that I'd had, and it's nice to be able to share that with other people.
Yeah, no, that's really lovely. And I think that the fact that people can make the connection now, so they can read the afterword and then actually see the program and see the actual cheetah, makes it even more special. I hadn't kind of realized that before. But is this your first experience of filming with cheetahs, or because you were involved in Big Cat Diary, weren't you?
I was, but we always, with Big Cat Diary, if we saw a cheetah, we'd maybe slow the Land Rover and have a look at it, but because we were always in the pursuit of leopards, which kind of is the hardest of the cats that were featured in Big Cat Diary. So we'd have a look, but no, never spent that much time with them. And then prior to Big Cat Diary, I worked in the Serengeti, and I had an amazing 2 months there where we got, I hadn't, but the production had got access to all of the Serengeti. I could have gone anywhere that I wanted, camped anywhere that I wanted, and I was out there in one of the most beautiful places in the world. Actually, it was my first experience of East Africa, and it was amazing. And I spent a little bit. We were mainly filming lions, but every time I saw a cheetah, I couldn't help myself but to film them. But this is the first time really that I've spent a lot of time following truly wild cheetahs. With Animals with Cameras, as a series we did a couple of years ago, we did a bit of filming with some habituated cheetahs. Right. But for those cheetahs, at the end of the day, they always had a guaranteed meal. And I think there's probably the thing that defines a cheetah is its uncertainty of its life or its day or every passing hour. So to spend time with truly wild cheetahs that are out there, and especially looking after young, you realise how vulnerable they are as an animal. So they're sort of a slight quirk of evolution, because how can an animal that sort of is so vulnerable to predation and sort of harassment kind of manage to squeeze sort of its way, but it squeezed its way kind of into existence by being, one of the most proficient predator in the world. Like they're incredible, and their success rate when they're hunting is incredible. So there's just sort of there's the upsides and downsides of being a cheetah. You can run after food, but you've also got to run away from things that want your food.
I know, it's one of the most heartbreaking things when you actually see a cheetah. Sometimes I've sat for hours waiting for a cheetah to hunt, and then eventually it manages, and then within a second, kind of hyenas are coming in or lions are coming in, and they just have to give up, don't they? It's heartbreaking for them, particularly, as you know, when they've got cubs as well. It's so difficult.
Yeah.
The habituated cheetahs that you spent time with, was that at Nankuse? Because we swapped messages. So I was there at the start of the year as well when you were filming in South Africa, because we were doing a little bit of filming there because we're going to be supporting them with some of the funds from Remembering Cheetahs. So they're doing collaring, basically. So one of the things they try and do is where cheetahs are on farmland and they get reports from farmers, the more educated farmers saying, rather than just killing this cheetah, which is what they'll often do if that they're not friendly to the cat, they'll ring up and say, help us out, let's put a collar on this cheetah so that we can track where it is and try and avoid conflict with the wildlife. So it's really interesting, the different techniques of conservation that people are trying and allow humans to live alongside these animals.
Yeah, I think that's what it comes down to now. There's nowhere that these cats and so much of the world's wildlife can be truly wild. The wild has been redefined, and it can only really exist, sadly, with our kind of consent and support. But there's lots of there's a lot of hope there, because you can see how sort of these projects work, and people being informed and people being able to communicate in a way that they never have done before, and that can really help those animals. But yeah, I think at the start of my career, I could never have imagined that sort of the wild by this age is not as it once was. It's quite a terrifying sort of turn of events, really.
Yeah, I mean, on our launch last week, Jonathan Scott was, who obviously you know very well, he was citing that there was an article in Time magazine in the year 2000 that was saying there are only 15,000 cheetahs left. And now, 20 years later, we're saying there's 7,100. So the rate of them disappearing is staggering. And that's the same of all of the species we've covered in the Remembering books. Everything is kind of in decline. Have you noticed, over the time, your lifetime of working in wildlife, do you actually see a decline when you go out there?
I think that you see a decline in the habitat. I suppose that's the sort of the most sort of stark thing. So I years ago, kind of right in the sort of early 90s, worked in the Amazon and spent 2 years in based out of Manaus, but really spending most of our time in the wilds. And it was sort of, back in 1992, the Amazon was still vast. We knew about sort of the problems of deforestation back then, but I suppose you think, well, it's so horrific that it will be dealt with. But then, skip forward sort of nearly 30 years now, and that devastation. If I haven't been back to the exact locations that I work, but I recently looked at satellite images of that area, and a place that we could go for weeks, literally, without seeing another person. You look at a satellite image and you see that these sort of communities have sprung up, roads have sprung up, bridges have been built, and yeah, it's just really so sad to see, to contemplate the level of loss, particularly in somewhere as rich as a tropical rainforest. And you know that we're living in a world that is losing species before we even know that they exist, which is truly horrendous.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Have you seen the new Attenborough documentary that's on?
No, I haven't. I don't really sort of watch the competition. It's not. No, I'm saving that for my flight out. I want to kind of just get myself on a plane to South Africa and immerse myself in it.
Yeah, I mean, it's quite, it's interesting. Sorry, someone hopefully might type the name of it, because it escapes me at this precise second, but it's deeply moving. He calls it his witness statement, and he says about what the change he's seen over the course of him, making documentaries in his lifetime. And every decade they kind of say what the amount of deforestation was at that point, how many humans there were, and you just see it kind of increasing every single decade. And I think it's a real legacy for him to have kind of, instead of just making the documentaries that kind of show how beautiful the world is, to kind of admit what's happened, while he's been working in this industry. It's quite shocking. But anyway, let's go back a bit. Tell me, how did you get into being a wildlife cameraman? I'm sure there's lots of people who want to do the same and are envious.
Nothing but luck, really. When I was 16, 17, I was lived on the Isle of Mull, and I had sort of, from the age of 10, I used to work in a trekking centre, and all I wanted to do was work with horses. So that was it. And then I got to about the age of 15, and I kind of started growing, and I outgrew all of the horses that I was working with, and then riding them wasn't sort of quite so much fun. And then I started thinking maybe kind of, a career in horsemanship might not be a kind of a great bet. So I was working in a restaurant, and the woman that owned the restaurant, her husband was a wildlife cameraman. And I used to love watching wildlife documentaries, but I'd never thought about sort of the person that was out there making them. I just would watch these amazing images from wild parts of the world. And then when I knew that Nick was a wildlife cameraman, I thought that was the most amazing job ever. And so I said to Anne, when I was sort of washing the pots and pans in the restaurant, I said, when Nick comes back, I'd love to just pick his brains about, how he got into it and sort of what, this is like late 80s. So, nobody really traveled. Like in our community, very few people had been abroad and people didn't go on holiday. Whereas this man traveling the world to sort of China, the Middle East, South America, and occasionally would phone in, and at the dishwasher where I was, the phone, I was closest to the phone, so I'd quite often pick up the phone and it'd be Nick phoning from some, exotic location. And really, he came back, I expressed an interest in his work, and he gave me a whole heap of books, and I just absorbed them. There was kind of the early sort of Life on Earth books, and there was other books about kind of wildlife filmmaking, and I just sort of opened up this world to me. And kind of out of the blue, he offered me a job as his assistant. He got a year-long project in Sierra Leone in West Africa, and he needed an assistant. And he asked me if I wanted to do it. And at the time, I didn't question. I just leapt at the chance. But over the years, I thought, why would you give like a 17-year-old spotty schoolboy this sort of level of responsibility job? And I think it's because he knew that I knew nothing. I had like no academic kind of sort of prospects. So I think he knew that I was going to work hard, and he worked me hard. So I just sort of slaved away working for him for that year. And then, he said, I'd love it if you kept on, stayed with me. And then, we ended up working together for five years.
What an amazing break. How lucky are you? That's incredible. And at what point did you make the transition to start being front of camera as well as behind the camera?
That sort of started, I think, when was it? The year 2000, I was making a film on leopards in Sri Lanka. And the producer said, if you can't film enough leopard behavior, you'll have to kind of find a human story out there that we can tell. So, if the scientists or kind of people that are passionate about leopards, but this is a fairly remote national park in Sri Lanka at that time, and there was no one there. And I said, well, it's kind of me mostly driving about. Just start filming yourself. So I did that, and it was kind of video diary style. So there was no pressure, there was no director or anyone telling me what to do or what to say. Because I was by and large by myself most of the time, the camera became this sort of little companion that I could talk to and vent my kind of frustrations at. And then it ended up, it was a natural world, and it went down really well, and the BBC liked it. And at that time, they were kind of looking to increase regional accents on the BBC. So kind of if I had been a posh Englishman, I probably wouldn't have got the gig. But so it was that, and it just sort of things, kind of trick. Well, I didn't want to do it in the beginning. After the Natural World and the Leopards that I made, I thought, okay, we've got a nice film out, and it made sense to tell it in that way. But I didn't at all want to be a presenter, so I really kind of sort of dragged my heels for years, sort of not doing it or avoiding doing it. And now I really love it. It's given me some of the most amazing opportunities in the world, and I see the benefit that it can bring and the way that it can inspire people and just sort of cast a light on these really important issues. It's sort of, again, luck, just sort of falling onto my lap and being in the right place at the right time.
Yeah, although they do say you make your own luck as well, don't they? So obviously, you've seized on the opportunities and kind of put yourself in the right place. Leopards in Sri Lanka, the Amazon. Where's the most completely remote place you've been, or the most exotic species that you filmed?
I think, last week we went for a walk up on the West Highland Way, which is this 100-mile kind of trek sort of through the Highlands. And Lola, our daughter, and I walked 3 days of it. And you get that sense of wilderness and get that sense of being alone 50 minutes from my house on the banks of Loch Lomond, and you're walking through this beautiful landscape. But you do know that, you've still got phone signal. If anything went wrong, you could sort of be rescued. So there's always that safety net. But I think being in the high Arctic, when we were filming the wolves back in 2014, I think that it's one of the most remote places that I've been. We were kind of very cut off and isolated, and we knew that if anything went wrong, we'd be in real trouble. But then again, in Papua New Guinea, we were doing one of the Lost Land series in Papua New Guinea, and we were in some really remote parts of the forest there, walking for days to get into places without any backup or support. But that, I really thrive on that. I love being in those places, and I think maybe because I grew up in a wild place, and I always like getting away from people. So I really, I enjoy just immersing myself in nature and not seeing too many signs of humankind.
And how does your wife feel about that? Is she slightly on edge when you're away, kind of waiting?
Well, after 7 months of me not going anywhere, she might be packing my bags as we speak. I think she's got used to, over the years, a lot of the maybe dicier things that have happened. I don't really tell her about, so it won't be until we're having drinks with friends sort of months later when I'm home safe and sound, and I'll tell a story. You never told me that. But yeah, that's a huge adjustment, I think, for, I pity anyone who's married to or has a partner that works in this way, because you're spending a lot of your life alone, and that's sort of, I chose this career, and sort of Wendy didn't choose, to find someone that had a career like this. But I think we're working together now, so that's great. So in the last 3 years, or actually more than that, we've been working on projects together, which is really wonderful. She's got her own TV company.
Right. Okay. And so, can you tell us? I know obviously the world is topsy-turvy right now, but have you got kind of projects up your sleeve you're hoping to pull off in the coming years, and places you want to go?
Yeah, well, hopefully, I might be speaking too soon on this one, but yeah, if we do another Family Me program next year, it will be another cat, hopefully, in a place that I've worked before. So yes, but there's, people often ask me, what's been my best sort of wildlife encounter, what's my favorite animal, a favorite place. But I kind of made a decision, actually, at the start of lockdown, I started thinking about this. It's like, I don't have a favorite animal. I don't have a favorite place. I don't really have a favorite encounter, because you're sort of trying to, I've been so fortunate to have had lots of amazing moments, lots of amazing animals. And if I pick wolves, it's sort of, well, I've had amazing encounters with elephants and with cheetahs and with lions. So yeah, it's hard. Yeah, it's like having children. These experiences are like having children. You can't have a favorite one.
Yeah, that's true. Although when I get asked that question, I do say, if I could only have one afternoon left, that in Africa, and and I had to choose what I would spend it watching, it would be baby elephants. Because they're the most entertaining ever, and you can just sit there with a huge grin on your face all afternoon. Whereas, obviously I love all the species, but lions just might be asleep the whole time. Where's the fun?
Well, I suppose with so many different animals, they move us emotionally, and it's sort of, there's so many ways that you can be moved emotionally, whether it's sort of high octane stuff that's sort of like the cheetahs when they're hunting, and you're like sort of fully immersed in that moment, but equally with the same animal when they're with their cubs, and it's sort of completely sort of transformed, and you're spending time with these sort of this little kind of view into this sort of intimate moment between a mother and its cubs. So yeah, I'd find it hard to. I think that's a good. I'll have to think about that. What if I had one afternoon left to do something other than spend it with my family? I would. I'm not sure what it would be.
I'll come back to you at some point in the future if you've made your mind up. So do you get the same? So with Family and Me, I'm imagining you might get the same as I get. So with the Remembering series, when I haven't even finished a book, people are already asking me what's coming next and sending me suggestions all the time about what they think we should do. Do you have the same? Do you have people kind of trying to find out what the next family will be for you?
Yeah, I think we've sort of landed on our feet with the Family and Me strand, because the first one that we did just happened to be ready round about Christmas time. So they put it out and it was in the Christmas schedule and it went down really well. And it's at a time, obviously, where there's families that come together and they're watching TV. And then the next one happened to be ready at Christmas. And then it's become, so we've been making them since the very start, almost, sort of to be shown over Christmas. And because it's become a sort of a brand of sorts that people do say, what are you filming next? But yeah, so I mean, it's reassuring, because that sort of says to me that people want there to be a next one. I'd hate for someone to come up to me in the street and say, so is that's presumably your last one? You're just going to end Cheetahs, go out and hide.
Yeah, no, I don't think that's going to happen. And as you say, it's such perfect kind of Christmas viewing as well. And that, yeah, you're going to be the Del Boy of Christmas for many more years going forward. I'm sure people wanting to see what you're up to. So you're flying on Saturday, are you?
Flying on Saturday, yes, and then not there for too long, but yeah, sort of back home. But we're just really we'll get back with all the footage, and then the second program will be edited, and then that will be all kind of good to go sort of by the end of the year. So yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that's quite a tight turnaround, isn't it? Is it normally that tight, or is it because of this year?
Ordinarily not. Actually, a few years ago, we did a kind of one-off program. It's called Reindeer Family, and it was spending time with sort of Sami people in northern Finland, and it was in November that we were filming it for a kind of December transmission, and all the post-production and everything that needs to be done, and the music's all specially composed. So that's a very tight space. So we actually had an editor out in the field with us editing. So we go days filming, come back with the footage, and it was really nice actually, because it was taking shape as we were making it.
Wow, yeah, I mean that's amazing to have it happen that quickly. And yeah, I think it's really great that all of us now, having kind of the fact that your Cheetahs are in Remembering Cheetahs, and then we get to see it in a couple of months is really special. So
yeah, it was great timing. You sort of you told me last year that you were going to do Cheetahs, and I think at that point I knew already that I was going to, and I said, well, that's what I'm doing this year. So yeah, it's all worked out really well.
Oh, well, thank you so much. I mean, you've been such a friend to the series, and I really appreciate it. And yeah, let's get in touch in January and see if I've made my mind up about what I'm doing, and if you've done it.
You paid my question before we left. What are you doing next?
Yeah, exactly. It's not decided yet. Yeah, I always, at this stage, I just need a sleep for a few weeks. At the moment, I'm not convinced I'll ever do it again, because it's too much like hard work. But yeah, we'll see. I'll let everyone know, but it won't be till the new year once I've decided.
Well done. I mean, it is an amazing book, and before we sort of went live, I thought you might ask me what my favorite photograph is.
Okay.
Just going through the whole book, and I think with the whole series, I haven't seen a book like it, where the standard is just off the scale. Like every single turn of the page, there's no, well, that's not quite so good. They're all incredible, and it's just wonderful to collate all of that, the sort of the best talent that there is in the world into a sort of single volume. And these books are going to go down, sort of, they're real kind of it's a legacy really for these animals. So well done. It's brilliant.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, I mean, obviously I called them Remembering because I It started actually with the elephant book. I saw Jane Goodall talking about the rate of poaching and how, if the numbers didn't change within a couple of decades, they could be gone, in the wild. And I was so shocked at that. And I thought, well, these books would therefore be the kind of the tribute to what they had been like in the wild by the best photographers at the time. And that was such a shocking thought, that it, it's deeply upsetting, but it also, I hope, would be provocative to people. So, but yeah, you're right. I mean, it's a joy that I get to, the best photographers sending me their best shots, and I just go through and select. And it's really hard. Sometimes people have got 10 pictures and I've only got room for one to fit. But anyway, tell me, I actually can guess. I can't, I'm trying to work out how I can do it. Like I can put it on the screen and people can't see it. I've got an idea of who your favorite shot would be. But yeah, tell me.
Oh, I couldn't pick. I said at the start, I've got no favorites. I think, the sort of dynamic hunting shots, and this is the kind of wildlife cameraman in me, because it's sort of, it shouldn't all be about, the moment that one animal sort of predates on another. But I think because it's so hard to capture those things, that it's those images that I respond to. But you know what? I think there's I can't remember the name of the photographer. There's a shot of the mother cheetah and her cubs. I think it was like 4 or 5 of them in a tree, and they're all sort of, cubs are cascading down this tree, and it's just a really lovely image. And she's poised and she's looking out. You can almost, if you've spent time with cheetahs, what's on her mind. But then there's this sort of frivolity of her cubs being around and not quite realizing how serious sort of life is for their mum that's at the top of the tree.
Yeah, that's actually Paul Goldstein, who's contributed to all of our books from the beginning. And I actually had him for a Facebook chat on last week, and he was talking about that particular image, which was taken in the Mara. And he was saying it was one of those moments, and you'll know this as well, where he was kind of looking around. He had the cheetah and the cubs, and he saw this tree in the distance and just thought, I don't know if they're going to go there. I don't know if they'll climb, but it's worth a shot. Just getting in position and kind of hoping for the best. And the cubs started to play, and then eventually the mum leapt up, and obviously he was thrilled. So I think he placed in Wildlife Photographer of the Year with that picture. It's very special. Yeah, but I wasn't expecting. I thought you'd go for one of the Geoffrey Wu shots, the hunting where the cheetah's like upside down, legs in the air.
Yeah, I'm sticking to it. I've got no favourites. There's so many, and I think as I said before, it's in the book. You turn the page, and you go from this sort of dynamic scene, a kind of cheetah doing what it does. Well, I was going to say doing what it does best. What it does best is raise its young, but you'll turn over a page from a full-on hunt, sort of this amazing grace and elegance and athleticism, to just something really intimate, and it sort of just sums that animal up, that it's capable of so much, but it's just sort of is doing what we're all doing, is just trying to sort of survive and get by and kind of look after your young, and it's not easy, and it's sort of for an animal like a cheetah, it's sort of they've got more problems now than they ever had.
Yeah. Did you see the shot in Namibia? It was actually one of our competition winners, where you've just got the cheetah as a tiny dot in the vast desert.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah. No, that was definitely, if I can have a top 10, that's in my top.
No, it's true. And what's great is, I'm doing the plug bit here now as well, but obviously all of the photographers have let us sell every single image in the book as a print, so all of them. So you can now go onto our print sales site, and any of your favourites in your top 10.
I mean, that is wonderful. I think it's sort of again, you've got how many images are in the book?
Oh, I think it's more than 80. Yeah, it's a lot.
Because if you're buying one as a Christmas present, you'd probably have to start looking through the book now, because it's going to take you a long time to decide which one's your favourite.
Yeah, no, exactly. No, it's the print sales site closes on Saturday evening. So it's just for because normally we have our exhibition in London and we have all the prints on the wall and we sell them off the wall. And obviously we had to kind of reinvent ourselves this year. So it's an amazing online gallery. I can't remember, I send you the link, but you kind of walk through and have a look. I'll send you the link afterwards if not. And then, yeah, people can kind of order the print. So it's going well. But I won't say which is the best selling, but it's the mother with cubs, definitely. People just love the cubs. Yeah, fantastic. Anyway, thank you so much for joining us. You're such a good friend to us, and I'm so grateful to you. And I'm so jealous of you as well. So I hope the visa arrives and that you get on the flight okay.
Thank you very much. Well, I'll send you some photos when I'm out there and make you even more jealous. I don't mind doing that.
I should expect no less. Okay, so I'm going to end this broadcast, but if you just hang on and then we can have a quick goodbye rather than rudely cut you off. But thank you so much, Gordon, and we all look forward to seeing the program at Christmas. Okay.
Cheers. Bye.